This watch is just stunning. There's one criticism about it, but apart from that, I'm kind of obsessed with this thing. Welcome back to the channel. I am Adrian, and this is where I simply talk about watches, things that I find interesting around the watch world, and pretend to drink coffee. That's actually just water, because it's absolutely boiling in Scotland. So this watch isn't new. This was launched in 2021, so about 2 years old. Now, one of the challenges is, I feel like, now I don't know if this is Zenith's fault or the industry's fault, but I feel like most of the chatter around Zenith is with the modern looking, the futuristic looking watches. I always feel like there's more of a focus on the Defy as opposed to the Chronomaster Sports. Or if someone's gonna have a conversation about the Chronomaster Sport range, it's gonna be around the new modern looking thing that looks very similar to a Daytona. So I feel for some reason, something as gorgeous as this just gets overlooked. I say all that because I'm quite embarrassed that I've only just found this watch. This is called the Zenith Chronomaster Original 38mm. The history behind it goes back quite a bit. Goes back over 50 years to the Zenith A386, which was launched in 1969 and was powered by the same movement that's powered in this thing, the Zenith El Primero movement. Now, the El Primero movement has become this legendary thing. It's a hugely loved, hugely respected movement, but the A386 was actually one of the first watches to have the El Primero movement in. And the reason the El Primero movement is so fancy and so well loved is because it was the first automatic chronograph movement. An automatic watch isn't anything groundbreaking. A chronograph movement isn't particularly groundbreaking either, but molding these things together properly, doing it so the whole mechanisms are fully integrated as opposed to being a modular movement, which is what most watch brands do. And this is why typically a chronograph watch is incredibly thick, because watch brands often take an automatic time only movement and then plop on a chronograph module on top of that. Whereas Zenith created a movement from the ground up and ended up with this stunningly thin chronograph. Rolex noticed that Zenith had something quite special, and that's why Rolex used the Zenith El Primero movement, heavily modified, but Rolex used it in the Daytona between the 80s and the 2000s. Arguably, it kind of shone the light on the Daytona. Now, this watch isn't new. It's been around since 2021. I just haven't taken notice of it. Ironically, I found out about this watch when I was on a Zenith press trip about 3 weeks ago for the Defy Extreme E collaboration that they did. Limited edition watch, a very cool looking watch, but at 26 grand, kind of out of my budget, but also it's not really the sort of watch that I'd buy. Whereas this is. So the case, as the name suggests, it's 38mm wide. And as I was rabbiting on earlier about the thickness of the watch, or the thinness of this chronograph, this is 12.6mm thick. We have 19mm lugs, and we have a water resistance of 50 meters. As you can see, the dial is a reverse panda, so that means we have a black dial with white sub-registers. The crystal is a heavily domed sapphire crystal, which I absolutely love. That adds to the vintage feel of I'm going to talk about the vintageness of this watch later on, but massively domed sapphire crystal, which is anti-reflective coated on the top and the bottom, and we also have a display case back. The movement inside it is Zenith's El Primero in-house, fully in-house movement, which beats at a whopping 36,000 vibrations per hour. You can see the little hairspring at the back, whizzing back and forth, and you can see how fast that seconds hand is spinning around the dial. It has roughly 60 hours of power reserve and has 31 joules inside. Now, I have to admit that the history of this watch, the history of the movement, I kind of feel like they're just excuses for me to justify wanting it, when actually it is simply just the fact that this is out and out gorgeous. I'm drawn to this thing because of it just looks vintage. It isn't. It is faux vintage, but it doesn't feel faux vintage. It doesn't feel like it's something modern that's then had little touches changed to make it look vintage. It feels like a new old stock piece. Just someone's upgraded their crystal, so it's sapphire crystal, which I love about it. That's one of the big things that I dislike about vintage watches, is that you kind of have to look after them. This is pretty much scratch proof, idiot proof, and I need that. I hit my wrists on everything, and that's one of the big downsides of vintage watches. You can damage them. Now, I'm talking about this perhaps in a different sense from a lot of other watches. Typically, I'll just get hands-on with a watch because I just like it. I just like the look of it, I want to play with it, and I want to explore it and then talk about it. This is very much, I want a chronograph, and this is very much in the running. There's two other watches that I want to talk about, but I'll save that for another video. Let me know what you think of this watch. And with this in mind, Let me know if there's other chronographs that you think I should check out. If you like this video, hit the thumbs up button. If you like the style of this video, then hit the subscribe button down there. Not that YouTube tells anyone that there's a new video out. So the bell icon is crucial. If you're on Instagram, give me a follow at Bark and Jack, and follow me on Adrian Barker on Instagram. I'll see you guys very soon. Take care.